Hi everyone. Today is daily.dev 20th episode, and we will talk about developer advocacy. And is there any developer there? I think so. And we have a very, very special guest. And to be honest, this is one of my favorite topics since I'm a developer advocate exactly at daily.dev. So let me introduce super fast the speakers, and then we'll proceed one by one. I see many people in the chat. Awesome. Hello. The intro always pumped me up. Me too. And yeah, you can type where are you from, and I have here Dom, Tessa, and Burke. So just say hi, and then we can start.
Hello.
We are from different parts of the globe, of course, and yes, nice. So just let me kick all of you, and then we'll introduce, and we'll start with Dom. So Dom, let's get ready, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Okay, bye. 1 second. Okay, so now I am alone. I see some people here. Hey, Sumit. Hey, Max. Can you hear me properly? Nice. Let me share my screen just as a kind reminder of what are we doing here. So we are daily dev, and let me put this one. I prefer this one. And we are a tool from developers to developers, and we try to help them by providing a feed that you can use to read some articles. We select from around 400 sources, maybe even more. You can select some types of articles. You can customize your feed. You can do many things. And I really suggest you to try this tool, especially because it's for free. You can just go at daily.dev and you will start from there. Nice. So what will we talk about today? We have 3 presentations, and the first one, my computer is a bit slow. Okay, the first one is with Dom Clark. We will have a one-on-one conversation about how fetching Discord events. We'll also talk about his experience as a developer advocate. And then we have one presentation with Tessa Mero. She's at a conference, but we'll see if we can make it work. And about leading developer relations. She's very focused on developer relations. I don't know if I have some issues, technical issues, okay? And last but not least, Burke from Microsoft, how to grow a YouTube subscribers. By the way, you can also subscribe to this channel, and let's see how we can grow our YouTube subscribers by using TikTok. This is very interesting, and this will be the last one. Okay, so I have some connection issues, but maybe we can do it. So nice. Okay, perfect. So hi Dom, how are you? Dom is a Jamstack community engineer at Netlify. He started working at a gaming company, I think. I'm not sure, called the Red Queen. Is that true?
Yeah, that was my first job. It was like 4 of us. We worked out of my boss's side office in his house. It was small.
Nice. And you also worked at Cloudinari, right?
Yep, with Tessa.
Okay, I think I have to set this because I see myself really in slow motion. I don't know. And then, okay, so Dom, tell me something about you. And by the way, this will be a very open conversation. We really want to discuss about the RHEL, what is for you. So first of all, please make a small introduction, and then we can start. Go.
Yeah, sure. My name's Demetrius Clark. Like he said, I'm the Jamstack community engineer over at Netlify. I've been doing DevRel for about coming up on 3 years now. Cloudinary before this for about 2 years, and then here. Before that, I did UI engineering. I'm a bootcamp graduate, self-taught for the most part, and I love teaching people. I love building community. That's definitely been my focus since before I even had gotten into tech, and now I love doing things like this and talking to awesome people like you.
Nice. And before we start, let's just tell me that I love your bird. Sorry, but I have to say this.
Thank
I
you.
admire you. Nice. Okay. So how did you step into tech? Because you said that you were doing something even before stepping into tech. So how did you step into tech, and was a DevRel job your first role or not?
Yeah. So before I got into tech, I worked in retail for 10 years. So I spent a lot of time just selling and really honestly, you would think that wouldn't help you with developer, a developer job, but being in sales for 10 years really helped me to like connect with people, learn how to build conversations with people. And it's 100% what got me most of my first job. I was very much so out in the community, building my connections with people and having those conversations. And then it eventually led to me kind of throwing a dart at the wall, and the Red Queen was looking for a senior developer at the time. And I told them, I said, hey, I have absolutely no experience. I can build communities and I can learn whatever you need me to, I'll come in and I'll work hard. And that actually got me my first job as a front-end engineer. But during that time, I built 2 meetups while at my first job. And that kind of pushed me in the direction of starting to see like what DevRel was about. And that was 6 years ago. So DevRel was still kind of emerging as a larger, organization and larger job title. So it took me a couple of years kind of bumping around in UI jobs, but eventually I found myself landing at Cloudinary for my first DevRel job.
Nice. So first of all, this is the proof that you should always be honest during interviews. Like, these are my limits. I can do this, I can do that, and don't oversell yourself. Maybe undersell, but never oversell.
I totally didn't follow that. I oversold as much as I possibly could, but it was on stuff that I knew I was confident with. I knew that if they needed help with community, I could help them build that. And like my front end developer skills were still so minimum because I had just come out of my boot camp that I was like, let me spend as much time trying to figure out how to like combine these skills and push them as a way to get hired.
Nice. But and just one question before we go on. Are you still organizing the React Delphia? What is that?
Yeah, so React Delphia was like my first real experience running a meetup. Was a phenomenal meetup. We were getting about 100 people a month. Was a lot of fun. And then probably around the pandemic is when it started to fumble. We had lost some of our co-organizers and didn't want to continue to move in person. So it's something that still exists. The Discord still exists, but we're definitely not as active as I'd like to be. I was actually wanting to move it over into more JS agnostic and kind of uplifting the JS community in Philly, but we'll see how that happens.
Nice, amazing. And I think we have the same microphone. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I see that it seems okay. So now we are brothers, by the way. I just have to grow my beard just a bit more.
That's okay. Hey, well, I just need to shave my beard down just a bit.
Yeah, we are not in sync. We're not in sync. Yes. So Dom, please tell us something about your DevRel experience, because being a DevRel, I think I'm with like 100 people, maybe even more, and they all have different stories, different experiences depending on the companies.
Yeah, for sure. I think to start kind of in the beginning for me, DevRel was really about uplifting the community, right? Like, so I think one of the things that starts to happen at a lot of companies with DevRel is that it stays an arm of developer marketing, and that has its place. There's definitely developer advocates that focus heavily on strictly content and building the top of funnel, but I think to me developer advocacy is about connecting the community to the product, and then vice versa, bringing the product back to the community. I think I've worked at enough places now to see how fast new features need to be built. I've worked at enough companies to see how quickly things need to ship. But when that happens, a lot of the time you find that there's holes that a customer would only be able to find, while poking around. It's really hard to get that kind of internal testing done without having the kind of input of the community. So for me, it was a really big focus on building community at every place that I've been to, and not in that like creating a Discord and having us live somewhere, more of like defining what that means to a company, because everybody's hiring for community now. You look everywhere, everyone, if you're coming in for a DevRel job, you have to have some communal experience. You have to know how to live within one, create one. And I think that a lot of the time that gets skewed in the way of kind of top of funnel. And I think one of the things that I try to do when I'm at these companies is to make them understand that not all community members are customers, right? Like they might become a customer. They may, have been a customer and are coming back now. We need to find a way to connect with them in a way that makes them feel like we are actually giving them something instead of building a community to only take from them.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much. Just let me tell you that since this is an open conversation, you can drop your questions in the chat, and if they are relevant, we will just bring them up as soon as you write them. Hey, Duran, how's it going? How's it go? Okay, nice. Okay, so what I'd like to ask you, and maybe what I also needed maybe some time ago before stepping into DevRel, are like tips for like absolute beginners, maybe even before starting to work as a DevRel, because a question that I get very often is how can I get a DevRel job?
How do I get into DevRel?
This is really a hard one. So since everybody now is doing this question to me, I have the opportunity to just ask this to
you. I'll take that. Yeah, so I think that you're going to hear me bash the community drum a lot, but like, you know, there's a few things that you need to decide before getting into DevRel, and that's kind of surrounding the type of work that you want to do. Everywhere that I've been so far, and a lot of places that I've interviewed, and you know, I have a bunch of friends in the industry. The one common factor that I see a lot is that a lot of teams let you focus on the things that you're good at and the things that you would like to focus on. That's what keeps you engaged. That's what keeps you excited. So for me, that's obviously always been content and community. For others, that may be, you know, building. I really liked one of the things that I did at Cloudinary was building open source tools for the community. That was a big thing that I really enjoyed doing. It kept me close to the code. It kept me close to the community at the same time. So finding out like your strengths and the things that you would like to focus on as a DevRel and being able to speak to those things in the interview is like such a good step in the right direction, because a lot of these companies that are looking for DevRel usually are early on in establishing their DevRel presence. So they are still looking for a lot of people who can wear many hats, as they say. But when you come in with a really strict idea of the things that you can impact, like for instance, when I go into these conversations and I let them know about React Adelphia and the communities that I built and show those, they're like, oh, okay, I know I can rely on this person for community building. I know I can rely on this person for helping us understand community. With open source, like that's building community. Like a lot of the things at the end of the day that you do, you know, content, everybody will say this, Twitch streamers, YouTube streamers, that's building community. Like the folks that show up, it's funny because you see like these streamers with 13,000, 15,000, you know, people in the chat. A lot of them aren't engaging. A lot of them are just lurking. A lot of them are watching. You build community with the active chatters that you have. So you start to find ways that you are, you know, passionate about developer relations, and explaining those inside of the interview really gives you kind of a step in the right direction of understanding if you're a good fit for the company that you're trying to work for, because that's another thing to take into consideration. Like if you're not passionate about the product, and a lot of these developer tooling companies are looking for developer advocacies, being passionate about the product is really good for being a DevRel. You're not there to sell the product as much as you are there to find the pain points of the product that the community would be experiencing, and helping find, again, that line between community and product that you can kind of establish.
Nice. Thank you, Dom. And I think we have a question that is more or less what I asked. Maybe I don't know if you have something specific, since you run React Adelphia. So, like, especially for React, this is a very specific question. I don't know. I'm a React.js developer. Just started my first job 1 month ago. Congratulations. What would you advise if I want to be DevRel in the future?
Yeah, congratulations. First of all, that's the hardest step, is getting your first job. So definitely big ups to you on that. I think the types of things that you can do to start to transition are obviously being public about the things that you build. Writing, you know, everyone will always say you have to have a blog, or you have to have this. You don't have to have those things, but being public about the things that you're learning in any way possible is the best way to have proof to look back at when you're in the interview and say, hey, look, you know, I've taught these many topics. I've spoken at this many meetups. I've gone and done this many workshops. And it's really hard, you know, first of all, the entire industry is saturated, right, with folks who are also looking to do the same. Developer relations and developer advocacy is one of the big names that people are trying to go after, because great benefits. You're in the community a lot. You travel. Like there's really cool perks that come with it. But it comes with establishing a lot of like trust within the community. You know, you can build content and all of that, but when you have like React Adelphia, for instance, right, we were talking about that. I I had built truth that people in the community trusted me, right? Like they were showing up to the event. The event spoke for themselves. I was having speakers in Philly and remotely come and speak. So like there was a public showing of trust from the community. So when I started to try and build my career in DevRel, that already spoke for itself. When I had first interviewed with Cloudinary, I had spoken with Duran, who was the hiring manager at the time, and we had already come into the conversation speaking about React Adelphia because it was one of the big accomplishments that I had on my resume, and it already spoke to the kind of proven trust that I had built over my career as a front-end engineer. So, again, it comes back to me building community and learning in public. When I was first starting my meetup, it's a lot of people always ask, how do I get started with the meetup, right? And a lot of folks always want to have huge number of meetups. They want to start and have like 50 people showing up, 75 people showing up. You're going to have 5 to 10 people showing up for quite some time. Like it takes a really long while for people to catch on because people are event fatigued at this point. People are going to events all the time. Online events are happening nonstop. So people are fatigued. But if you're consistent and you're showing up, I remember in the beginning, before React Adelphia, I actually had RQ React. And I did a workshop every month that I built myself. I built a workshop. I gave it every month. And we had 5 people showing up. But those 5 people that showed up all the time trusted me, built this trust with me, and then would tell other people and tell other people and tell other people. And eventually it built itself into React Adelphia. But it took a lot of waiting and patience and consistency. So if you're just getting started and you want to start now with building community, get out there and start helping teach people something that you're passionate about. You're learning React for your first job. Teach other people your perspective. For people who have been building React for years now, we have a different perspective. We've hit so many walls. We have shortcuts that we take. We know where to go. When you are brand new, you have a perspective that a lot of other people share. If they're learning at the same time that you're learning and you're teaching them about it, A, you're going to cement a lot of the core understanding for yourself. And B, you're going to build up a huge backline of content and trust within the community, helping them to understand the same concepts.
Nice. Thank you so much, Dom. This is really amazing. I think I'll watch again this video at the end, and not just to add the timestamps. Also, I'll watch it with pleasure. I think you anticipated this question, but I don't know if you can add something for MD. It says creating a community platform is easy. No, don't agree 100%, but getting like try to set up Discord. But getting people there is hard. Totally agree. How can you get people on a new community? I had some personal experience on this. So what's your point? Like how to get people in a new community?
Yeah, I think you probably know this better than I do. It's building things like this and staying consistent with them. So I've been building Discords for years now. I do it professionally as a contractor. I do it at Netlify professionally. When I came on, Discord was one of the big kind of goals that we had for the Jamstack community. So for me, getting people to show up wasn't hard. Getting people to show up and actually engage is the real difficult part. Again, those vanity metrics, having 10K people show up to your community platform, it's not hard. It's talking about it a lot. It's getting people doing events, talking about it when you're at those events. Getting people to come is probably the least hard part. Getting people to come be engaged and stay engaged is one of the more difficult things that any community creator will tell you. And I think to be able to do that well, you really have to understand the community that you're serving, and build a rapport with them. For instance, very recently in the Jamstack Discord, I started hosting a stage series, which it's like Twitter Spaces, but inside of Discord. And now we do that daily, almost daily. We have interviews with community members and we just get up and chat and talk. And I will say that, yeah, like we'll get 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, but that's great because they're coming, they're engaging, and they're knowing that the types of things that we'll talk about when they come to the community, which is really hard. Like when you're behind a screen name and everyone's talking in text chat and everyone's already having conversation and knows each other, it's really hard for other people to get involved. So creating a safe environment for people to get involved is like number one. If you're building an echo chamber of only people that think and talk like you're going to have a really hard time reaching a broader audience because you're not building safety nets for folks who don't look like you and who don't speak like you. So I think building safety into your community is like a number one priority. And then number two, building out events that keep you consistent with the community. And events don't always have to be coming and giving a talk or anything like that. It can be, hey, let's get together on Friday nights and chat about this. Hey, let's get together on Thursdays and have a game night. Like it's not always about shilling something to them. It's not always about building something so that they can enjoy it. It's about building a space where people feel comfortable talking about everything, not just the development topics. Like I don't want people to come to the Jamstack server and feel like they only are allowed to talk about development topics or the Jamstack. I want you to come and let me know your pet's having a great day, or when you're not having a great day and you need somebody to talk to. Like that's to me what a good community is built from. Is when the person who's leading it is looking for the community, looking out for the community more so than trying to build it to kind of like cement themselves as like a community creator. I think it really comes down to the path that you want to take with your community.
Nice, Dom. I think this is exactly the talk that I needed before starting my community, because I made all the mistakes. So now I'm nodding because I tried this on my skin. But everything you say, I totally agree. We have, for example, I created, for example, a community outside the dev, but we have a random chat which is super active. The meme chat is super active, but
that's where people want to talk, right? Like they don't want to talk about dev 24/7.
But but it's fine. And just another thing before we go on the next question is that I decided to make like a temporary call. Like let's say on Saturday 2 p.m. let's make this a temporary call, just a coffee chat. We have been doing this consistently for 2 years.
Yes. I love that.
And I'm sure that's the thing that led the community to stay also active and exist even when I was very busy.
People trust you. Like people trust the space that you're putting together for them, and it shows in how they engage. We lost your mic.
I was muted. Sorry.
There you go. No worries.
Because the shirt doesn't have a button, but I ordered a button to put on the shirt today that I'll put it here.
There you go.
It here. So I ordered this today. We have to wait one day. Okay, so Yuri is a friend. Yuri, she's a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. She's very passionate about Twitter Spaces. So she just became a DevRel. Huge congratulations, Yuri. Really, we are proud of you. And so let's help Yuri and, of course, everybody else who just got started. So let's say that we find a job, as Yuri did. So what the hell do we do? Because starting because starting a DevRel job is not easy. So which are the general tips, things that we should do? And I would add also what we should not do, like at the end, not just what we should do.
Yeah, I think one of the best things I've done for myself since getting into DevRel is being organized in all of the many things that you're going to have to keep your eye on. As a DevRel, you get swamped in community and product conversations cross-functionally. So like, speaking to your SDK team, speaking to your internal product testing teams, support teams. And then you've also got handling conversations with marketing, content, like the list goes on of what DevRels have to kind of manage. So having like a controlled space, I use Notion for this, but having a controlled space to organize the projects and tasks that you're working on to keep you in line and making sure that you're shipping to 100%, because a lot of the time it gets really easy to start up many projects and only finish a couple. So keeping focused on getting the projects that you're trying to ship and getting them out the door is probably one of my better tips. And then another thing to kind of put yourself into a right position is being as communicative with your direct line manager as you possibly can on what their expectations are for metrics. I think metrics in DevRel is one of the hardest things to track, because a lot of the things that we track in DevRel are vanity metrics. So there's not a lot of, like, for instance, in marketing, right? Marketing is going to track metrics for top of funnel. So all they have to do at the end of the day is see, did this thing lead to somebody signing up? And they get to kind of see signups as a way to win. With DevRel, it's a little bit more skewed. It's a little bit more complicated to understand where DevRel fits in the funnel. So I think having an understanding with your boss about what types of things are wins to them and wins to the company, and what types of things do you want to accomplish at this company, because that, as a DevRel, you're very self-sufficient and self-reliant. You have to do a lot of things without somebody kind of, micromanaging or program managing you. So having those like kind of long-term goals in front of you and short-term goals in front of you from your boss is a really great way to start getting wins early.
Nice, and of course, Yuri, keep us updated about your role, and good luck, really.
Congratulations on your first role.
Yeah, I'm super happy because there are many DevRel in the chat that are giving also their point of view. I love this.
That.
So this is the power of DevRel, yes. Okay, so now this is interesting because DevRel role, product manager, and sales, like they are 3 points of a triangle. But how would you define them? Where is the end of sales and the beginning of DevRel, and the product manager with the product itself? So from your perspective.
So I think this is a really hard question to ask because it depends on the company that you're at. For instance, in Netlify, DX is its own organization. So we live parallel to things like product and marketing and sales. We work alongside them, but with our own goals. So for me, that's a bit different. At Cloudinary, it was under marketing. DevRel was under marketing. So we had metrics that we led up to, and we worked with product manager or sales. You work within this kind of middle zone, right? Where you're more, first of all, you're more of a PM than anything. A lot of things in DevRel come down to managing expectations, having calls with folks that it will affect, whether that be internal or external, and managing your own projects to completion. So like you do a lot of project managing more often than not. I am not a big fan of the sales leaning DevRel architecture. I think that pushes you in a really weird way because you kind of start to tread on the trust that I'm telling you to build, right? Like if I'm doing things only so that you use my product, is it the best thing for you? That's the question you have to be asking. So like when I do DevRel, I enter every situation, and Nader Dabit was actually one of the first people to give me this advice. Me and him, he was somebody who was very early in my career, a big impact on how I viewed myself inside of the community. And, for me, he always had that conversation with me about, you need to understand where you live to understand where the community lives. Like if you're a part of the community and you're being asked a question about your product, the first thing you should ask is my product the answer for that question? Like, is the thing that I use going to fix that? And if it's not, as a good DevRel, in my opinion, you will find the answer that best helps that person, because they're not gonna be like, say you give them the shield answer and you're like, my product is the right way to do this, and then you send them down a hole to use your product, right? And it doesn't work. They've had a terrible experience now. They asked you, they trusted you, you gave them the wrong answer to just try and get the sign up. But if you turned around and you said, hey, I don't think my product is the right fit for this, but I've seen this, and you send them an article that may not have anything to do with your product, but if they go and get their thing working, they're going to remember, oh, that person from this company is somebody that I can trust. It's somebody that I can go back to and ask questions when I do have questions about their product. I really push for the fact of like, stay as far away from that sales architecture as you can, and really push towards being a part of the developer community. Like you are one of them. You are, whether you're working in DevRel or not, like we're all a part of the same kind of building community. And I think that's one of the things I love about Dev, is that it's cool to help people. Like that's why we even have developer relations as a thing. That's why Burke's talking about later about how he's growing his YouTube channel. It's because Burke puts out great, helpful content. He's not out there shilling things. He's putting out things that are truly helping the people that he wants to serve, and people trust him for that, right? Like there's so many people that are putting out content. They could go to anybody. It's about you. And when you go working as a developer advocate or a developer relations person at any of these companies, people aren't coming to use the product for any other reason than you being there. So when you build this community and you build this trust, companies are hiring the trust that you've built within these communities. They are hiring the idea that you know how to gather people trust your ideas, and that they're going to be able to, take part in it, take part in your community. But you have to be able to make that decision very early on that you're going to be true to your community before anything. And your company will, if your company doesn't thank you for it, they're pushing you in the wrong direction. And a lot of places are having a hard time establishing what they want developer advocacy to be, because you're one of their first hires and they're still trying to figure it out alongside you. So kind of, lead with best intentions, answer as many questions as you can, as truthfully as you can, and push yourself to remember that before you were in developer relations, you were a part of the community that you're now trying to serve.
Wow, I love this. And Dom, before I'll ask you maybe to make even more things together, like space or live stream, but let's end this episode. So I'd like you to give some final thoughts, especially for beginners. It's full of DevRels in the chat, and I'm loving this. So yeah, some final thoughts on developer advocacy, especially for beginners. We had many times the same questions, like how to get started, how can I start? So the very early phase. So let's wrap this first collaboration, of course. Not last.
Yeah, sure. I think one of my best tips is do not do what everyone tells you is the right way to build your audience. Everybody will tell you have to have a developer blog to be successful as a DevRel. I'm 6 years into development. I'm 3 years into DevRel. I have never had a developer blog, not one time. I work on it the same as everybody else does. I want to put one out. I don't find myself, that is not the medium in which I do the best in. The medium that I do the best in is this: voice, live streaming, video content. That is where I get to exude as much as my personality as possible. And it really helped me in the beginning to focus. Like I Twitch live streamed for the first half of my career. And it was one of the best community building tools because it allowed me to connect in the way that I did best, right? I wasn't writing to just write and to fill a backlog. I was focusing on the content that actually pushed me in the right direction. And I think a lot of folks have a really hard time getting started with building content. Oh, there's so many content like this. Nobody wants to learn React from me. Nobody wants to learn this from me. When you've got this person and this person, and we have this the really big thing that I can say is the people that you hold on the highest pedestal, the ones with the most followers, the Kent C. Dodds, the Cassidy Williams, they are regular people. They are you and me with big followings. They are not celebrities. They are not on the street and someone's grabbing them and trying to take pictures. They're regular folks like you and me. And I think once we kind of get rid of that mentality of like the celebrity culture of it and building yourself into this, you start to realize that a lot of these people got to where they were by being themselves, building on the content mediums that they love consistently, and being someone that people can trust. Like at the end of the day, that's what those people have built as their pillars. And that's what you should focus on in your career when you're first getting started in DevRel, is being as authentic to yourself as possible, and making sure that you are always pushing in a direction that makes you feel like you can continue pushing. If you're doing something, do stuff out of your comfort zone for sure, but don't push yourself to need the developer blog if you're putting out developer videos, right? If you're live streaming and putting out this content, it'd be great to also have, these multifaceted levels of content. But I think you push in the right direction for long enough and you stay consistent for long enough, that's what people start to know you for. Like for me, it was community. Like I was just building it so much publicly that every conversation, even when I was in front end, when I interviewed at Comcast around here, which is a telephone and an internet company, one of the biggest on the East Coast, they brought up React Adelphia immediately. Nothing about my front end skills. They were like, wow, like you've been running this meetup for so long. And that got me a front end job, right? So like it just do the things that you are the most passionate about consistently, and it will start to show.
Nice, perfect, Tom. So we need to do something else together. I will meet. I think I also maybe we'll meet at some conferences at some point.
I hope so.
I don't know where. Will you go at Render ATL next year?
I'm actually wearing the Render ATL shirt right
Okay.
now. Yeah,
So
I'd like to be. I was supposed to speak at this last one, and I got COVID. It was
So
very
maybe
sad.
we will meet the next year because I
I'm
need
so
to
ready.
get the ticket. Perfect. Nice. Perfect. Dom, thank you so much. This has been really an incredible one. We have also some more questions, but I'll keep some of them for Tessa. But of course, feel free to stay in the chat.
Will do.
Stay there, be active, and if you can stay until the end, you will also invite you again. So we say
Cool.
hi, say bye again.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Francesco.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Before I invite the next speaker, I would like just to say, I don't know, so this is not true, of course. We just decided to take a selfie together, but there is a proof of this. Okay, let me invite Tessa. Are you there?
Hello.
Okay, you've always been there. You just had the camera off. Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn on my camera just for a moment. It makes my arm tired to hold up the phone. I'm at Cascadia JS, if anyone's heard of that JavaScript conference.
Nice. Okay, so who is Tessa? I think many people already know her, of course, because she is a leading of developer relations at Appwrite. She's also a member of Developer DAO. I'm also in Developer DAO. And what else? Tessa, are you at the conference now? Tell me something about you. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Tessa Mero, and I've been in developer advocacy longer than I've been paid to. I was doing it for many years prior to being officially paid to do it. I was speaking and going to conferences and working with developers and advocating an open source project for quite some years. So I've been doing it for probably over 10 years now.
Nice, amazing. And I see many people here going crazy. Okay, so many people. Hi, Yota,
Hi, friends.
Nice. Okay, so let's have a discussion. Okay, and we have also a backlog of many questions that I saved. But before we start with them, can you tell me a bit more about, like, I don't know, your DevRel experience, something specific, especially in the very early stage? How was it at the beginning?
At the very beginning, when I got my first job at Cisco Systems as a developer advocate, it was a lot of learning in a short period of time and understanding and learning what to do in my role, especially when they let us all be leaders and make decisions of what events to go to and make decisions of how we want our role to look like, and kind of take it from there. So it's really nerve-wracking to be able to be trusted that much. And it's pretty common in a lot of roles, but there are roles that are that have very defined responsibilities where everyone has a very specific set of tasks. So it really depends on what company and team you join.
Nice. And do you remember, like, instead, a very good moment, like in your DevRel experience, like if you can decide which one, or even more than one, if you have like a good moment for your career as a developer advocate?
Oh my goodness, a good moment. I feel like I've had so many good moments where there's been so many conferences where I've made so many great connections and like authentic friends, where like I cried on the airplane going home because like I just miss the people I've met so much. Like I've just had too many of those moments. Like, and I'm like getting teary-eyed thinking about that because it just happens too often. And it's probably going to happen during this trip. So I'm like really excited to meet. But the pre-conference starts tomorrow, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the full conference days. So there's going to be a lot of people here.
Nice. And to be honest, I think that what we're doing is cool, of course, but if we can tour this into, I don't know, maybe one day in a in-person conference of daily.dev, that would be really a goal, an incredible goal. Yes.
And that's why virtual events versus in-person events are just so different. I can't make these kind of real deep connections with individuals at a virtual conference. And I got burnt out so much from virtual conferences where I can't really do it as much anymore. Maybe when as a speaker, or if it's something I really want to go to or asked to join. I'm Also not a fan of traveling anymore, but I find myself traveling because I want to be around people. I want to connect with people, and I have like a craving to connect with people. But I just dread airplanes and I dread long trips. I dread it. So
Yes.
it's pros and cons.
Yes, but yeah, of course, I'm not saying that I hate the web events. I think that if we had not like the social media and the webinars, I would have never started doing a conference in person. So I'm super grateful of what we have, this technology support, also what we're doing now. Nice, amazing. So let's start with some. The questions will not be all the same, but you know, people are here because they want to get started. They want maybe some tips and how they
Sure.
can start, and then let's say at the end maybe of their career coming to lead developer relations. So let's start from the beginning, of course. So instinct dev, I'm starting to apply for DevRel jobs. How should I prepare?
So a big part of my job is I review a lot of resumes, and that's something that's quite new for me. But I'm in the point where I'm like, I've already read through maybe 300 developer advocate resumes, and there's just so many where I'm starting to ask that question to myself, like, what am I looking for a developer advocate? And Dom went over a lot of good points. I mean, he was very passionate and really knows this topic about what makes a good developer advocate. And number one thing, when you're preparing your resume and making it for developer advocate, make sure you gear your like explanations of like, you know, your previous work history and like how does it connect to a developer advocate job if you had a job that wasn't a developer, and have a section of your contributions or open source work or just anything that you've done with the community. Even if you just attend, like let's say you just attend Vue.js conferences, maybe you've never spoke at one, maybe you've never done anything but attend an event, maybe it was just a virtual event. I'd like to see that on a resume. I might be different from other hiring managers, but I like to know what your involvement in community is. I also go through their social media and read how they collaborate and how they communicate with others. Are they helping other developers, or are they on how are they communicating on social media? So that's a really, really important thing to do. So
Nice.
having an easy way for me to be able to find your blog post, find like Dom mentioned, like you don't have to have a blog post, which is true. If there's like other mediums where I can find ways that you create content in any way.
Nice. Okay, someone is asking if you can make maybe a talk, tell us something about your education before becoming a software engineer, before stepping into tech, if you want.
Before stepping into tech, so I was actually trying to get into tech around the year 2000s, 2001. I submitted my resume to Sun Microsystems. They said it was the worst resume they've ever seen in their life. I was writing websites as a hobby. It was really terrible e-commerce websites. But there's no jobs back in the days. So I kind of said screw work and just kind of had job after job and mostly spending my time partying until I got tired of that lifestyle. And I'm like, okay, I want to go back to college and what should I study? And it was like the whole computer engineering industry was booming. And I felt like it was the right decision to jump into that. So around 2009, I decided to go back to school and learn that. And the inspiration was also having kids and having to take care of them financially. So that was a big motivation of getting into a career.
Nice. And see.
But I didn't have any kind of career before. It was just like job hopping mostly. nothing important.
Yeah, and no, and this is interesting because you can call it like a hobby, or even, as I say, like maybe you started without getting paid in the REL, right? Or maybe in the tech world. But sometimes, like, I don't know, we turn this into a job, and somehow, even for example, for me, when I started using social media, nobody was paying me for my tweets. So when I had 50 followers, but then this turns into something. So just have to stay consistent for a while, like months. Like, so this is interesting even for me. So your term says, like, as a developer, I find it hard to keep track on important product updates and innovations happening in places other than in my own company. Any good advice? I don't know if he's talking about updates in the tech world in general, because it says in places other than in my own company. So probably it says, like, how can I stay updated about the tech world while also having a full-time developer job? I think this
you know
is
what, that's an inspiration for me to want to create a channel right now in my company Discord to just talk about updates and product updates and any kind of new versions on things. That should always be a discussion, and where each individual on a team can have a place to post that stuff, and it'll make it easy so we can all share resources and information. That should be a thing. We just all assume we all know about these updates when we really don't. So yeah, having a channel to share resources would work really well.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do it. Thank you, Yotam.
Nice. No, but this is great, because for me, when we do this kind of podcast and we interact, say, okay, so the important thing is just to note the thing down. Otherwise, I would forget this at the end of the podcast, because I literally reset at the end of a podcast. So maybe it's better to note it down. And
right, like right now, we share information in our developer, like our main DevRel channel, but it gets lost very easily. Someone talks about an update on a product, and then it's just like after a conversation happens, it's like you have to scroll all the way up to like find that link. So it should be its own little area.
Nice. And we know that development moves really, really fast. Like, I don't know, 3 years. It's like an era for development.
So I want to know if there's anyone in the audience that just joined a developer relations team, like as a manager or as like a head of or a VP, that's here to really learn about that position. That would be good to know, to understand the audience a little more.
Yes, maybe we can also make a poll, like, on what's your level, what's your current situation in the REL. And in the meanwhile, while I create this poll, Tessa, we have some questions that maybe are not super easy, but let's try to go with them. Like, I am a dev advocate in a company. How do we measure results? Quantitative, qualitative. There's also another question about this. So,
okay. I mean, I can answer any question about developer relations. I'm happy to make an open Q&A.
Yeah, of course.
So if as a developer advocate, and so are they asking you to create KPIs? Because that's something that your upper management should be responsible for and asking you to be measuring. And it depends, like talk with your upper management, talk to your leadership, and understand what they are looking for. What's important to the company? What are the company objectives? What are the objectives of the department? What are they measuring in a broader picture, so you can understand what you need to measure that aligns really well with what the main bigger picture is. And if you're able to do that very well, then your role would become a lot more important than it ever was from the beginning. And there's just there's like countless ways to measure DevRel. I have a whole blog post and video presentation on just that topic. I'd have to dig and find the link to it and share that.
Yes, you can send this in the private chat and I'll share it, of course. There are so many questions that are hard. It's hard to choose. Let's try to go on this, which is also on the metrics. by Summit. How do we differentiate between vanity metrics and useful metrics?
How do you define vanity metrics?
I don't know. Summit, if you are...
heard of that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe vanity metrics, I don't know, just, I don't know, likes on social media. I don't know. I'm just trying to Summit. If you are there, you can try to be more precise. I think, for example,
I've always felt useful metrics are always the metrics that other teams at the company does not care for, or they're just metrics that aren't useful to them. And then there's the metrics that are actual useful to the company as a whole, but not so useful as a team. So it's good to have a good mixture of both, because you want to have those metrics that align with the company. And then you have your team metrics that defines your success for the work that you're doing within your team. And it may not be important outside of your team.
Yeah, and Dom is saying, for example, an example, I don't know, just the community count on Discord, or just the likes on a single video that maybe can explode a single video, or GitHub stars on a repo. Maybe they can be defined, I don't know, like they're cool to have, but it's not necessarily transferred into users or transferred into something good for the company. I think this is what it will.
Like I'm at a smaller a startup, and those types of metrics are pretty important for us, but it doesn't feel like it's extremely important for developer advocates to be able to connect with developers and have the real metrics of having these authentic conversations and being able to, as Dom mentioned, connect people with product and product with people. And the real metrics are always really hard to define in numbers, because the real KPIs are over time, of course. So yeah. And one thing I wanted to go over is what I'm here for is what to do on your first 90 days of being like a head of developer relations or a VP or leading a team. And that's like a topic that I've been really passionate about lately.
Nice, perfect. So, so what do you think is the best way to approach the first 90 days as a developer?
So, one thing that happens often is like I will get messaged on LinkedIn or on Twitter DMs saying like, hey, I just got a job. I'm leading a team now. Like, do you have any advice, or what should I be doing? Often people think that they need to have define a strategy within their first 1 or 2 weeks. They have to have all the answers, and they have to start just like telling everyone what needs to happen. And that's like the biggest mistake that new leaders would do. Your first 1 or 2 weeks, you should be learning about the company, learning about people, and building that credibility. And I feel like this should be the same as like if you're a developer advocate and you just started at a company, and you're probably panicking and thinking like you have to bring value immediately to the company. You have to start executing on all this work. No, I don't think you should be executing on anything. You should be learning about the people you work with. Learn about each individual. Learn about what is their background, what culture are they, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what are their personality type, what's the best way to contact each person, what's the best way that people communicate, and the best way is to just have conversations with them, learn about who they are, let them learn about you, give them a chance to just learn about each other and build that respect for each other, build that credibility. Talk about your background, talk about the value that you can provide and that you are excited to be at the company. So it takes a lot of time to build that. Learn about expectations before you just start saying, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this, and like you're on that panic mode of like having anxiety. And everyone has a little anxiety and stress naturally when they start a new position. But before making decisions, like what are the expectations people have from you. What are the expectations from your boss, the person that you report to, and learn about this information before like jumping into making decisions. Like, what is the culture of the company? You want to learn about, you know, the company culture and what makes the company thrive as a whole. And what is the company mission? What are the company objectives and long-term goals? And understanding that information helps you make decisions on, you know, what's important and what's a priority for your work. Another thing about being a developer advocate is there's so many different tools that you're using, you know, whether you're a developer advocate lead, team lead, team manager, it doesn't matter. There's so many different tools and developer tools, productivity tools that you're using. Learn about every single one, get access to the ones you're supposed to be using for your work, and get familiar with them. So that way you can navigate your role a lot better. Another important thing, and a lot of being a lead is also like just the same information for just being a developer advocate. Community expectations, like what are the expectations and involvement? Do you have to use Discord? Do you have to use Slack? What forums are you supposed to be using or checking? What products are you supposed to be using and checking? Any kind of social media products? Are you supposed to be using Twitter, Facebook? Are you supposed to be responsive to the community in these areas? Like, what are the expectations in all of these tools? When you're in a higher level, a manager, director above, you need to understand, like, what are the stakeholder expectations? What do the investors expect from you? How are the stakeholder meetings held? Is it every month? Does the CEO present slides? Do these slides have any kind of DevRel metrics that are on there, or social media metrics or community metrics that are important and things that stakeholders are waiting for updates to? So this is just like what kind of information are being presented, what kind of data is being presented, and it's really important to know if all of these or any of these slides relate to your DevRel activities or team activities. So, and a big part of it is going to be growth metrics. So most likely there's going to be a lot of correlation between the two.
Nice.
And that's just the first couple of weeks. So if anyone has any questions on that.
Yeah, we have many questions, and just let me just stop literally 20 seconds to say that Tessa is really a gold mine for developer relations, for real. It's just talking in a normal podcast. I don't know. You can feel it, even if she has the camera off. She's like, I'm feeling the energy of developer relations through the energy. There we go. Okay, now it's too much.
I'm setting the phone back down. See, that's how I feel about Dom. Listening to Dom talk is he's just so honest. Like, I have this like deep connection on like every word he has to say is just beautiful words and just so authentic. It doesn't get better than that. And that's why he's like a master of his trade.
Nice. So if you can reply to this one, because it's interesting for me, because now we are starting working something as a community, especially for daily dev. So starting a community completely from scratch. So maybe from your experience, which are maybe the things that you can do just at the beginning, super fast.
Sure, I have done this so many times. It depends. Is this like an in-person community or online community? Because it's like a kind of a different approach, but the same process.
Of course. In my case, it will be not an in-person community. So maybe you can. I'm taking this question a bit also for me. So it's as an online community.
So it depends on where you're creating your community as well. Is it like a forum community? Is it a Discord community? Is it a community group on Twitter? One of the most important things that builds a community over time, as Dom mentioned, is consistency. If you always have a similar, like if you're doing presentations or open sessions where you can talk with the community, being consistent with date, being consistent with time, and just always letting the community know that they can count on you being there. And the community will always start with one person, and bringing value to that. And you should always let a community grow in an organic way. So learning about who your community is and letting it grow based on like what they're there for and what value they're looking for. And it'll grow a lot faster than you can even imagine. Consistency,
Nice.
that is number
Absolutely.
one thing. You can't just like throw
Absolutely.
together something and then just like leave it alone for a couple months. Oh, well, you know, no one's going to show
Yeah,
up, so
it will
I'll just
be.
like not do
Yeah,
anything.
we wish it was like that, but
So in-person meetups, when I started a community, and you know, the first meetup, you know, 2 people showed up. The next, when no one showed up to my meetups, I still held the meetups and let people know I was there. And you know, it's okay that no one showed up. I'm looking forward to the next meetup. And I made sure I was consistent even if no one was there, and let people know I was there. So that way they can, like Dom said, they have to trust you that you're consistent, so they know you're going to be there next time.
nice, amazing, Tessa. So I think
It was a lot of commitment. You have to commit. I was super committed on my personal time to make things happen. Like you have
absolutely.
to care to be able to build a community. You have to care about the community for them to care about you.
It's that's true, 100%. Yes. So Tessa, let's wrap this amazing episode part. So we let also Burke having this presentation. Would you like to say something before we wrap up this one?
I think I was only like 5% into my presentation without slides. But I can like summarize it very quickly for leading a developer relations team. And when I joined my company, I inherited an entire developer advocate team. So it was a very scary situation because of that, having to build trust. So after learning about each other, the next thing you need to do is, you know, do some research, listen to others, and understand. Learn about the DevRel team, learn about, you know, where they think things are lacking, where things need to improve, and what their immediate expectations of you are. Learn about the history of the DevRel team, the history of the engineering and product, current organizational flows, and expectations of like what the company growth is. Another thing that's important to do is in the beginning of your role as like a developer advocate or any type of role is getting early wins, like Dom has mentioned, but not major big wins. Like people think they have to join a new role and do something major and big and like show their value. No, like do something small and prove to your team that you can execute and complete something. So make sure it's like a small initiative, a small project that also fits within and aligns with company objectives, and that's like priority to your team or company. You want to demonstrate like how you deal with decision making, and just prove that you can follow through. And after that, and when you're into your like second month, get feedback on like how you do things. Hear from others on what they think about your work, on your progress. Get as much feedback and on everything, on all your ideas, on just any area. And after that, you should be working on strategy and planning. What are different KPIs you want to work in, different strategies you want to work in. Maybe you have to create a developer experience strategy. Maybe you have to create a content strategy. Maybe there's already a content team, so you don't have to work anything related to content. So that's why you really have to understand your organizational flow to know what areas you need to focus on. Like, do you have a support engineer team? If not, does DevRel, are they responsible for supporting developers? Like, to know your strategy, you need to understand everything, meet everyone at the company. By the end of the second month, you should be executing and developing these strategic plans for all your DevRel initiatives, and go through feedback loops before executing on them. If you execute too fast on a strategy or an initiative, you can get a lot of pushback because of the lack of transparency. Transparency is the key to success for everything. If you involve others in a feedback process, you will build trust with others, and they will care a lot about your initiatives and strategy plans. It is really important to do that. And I've seen that frequently in previous roles, and for other people's roles. I've seen things get executed without a feedback loop or without transparency, and that's how a lot of political issues can happen, and it can really hurt company culture as well. And by the end of the third month, you should be having like a good team flow and hiring strategy, and that's like a whole conversation on its own. I've been working with an executive coach for 3.5, maybe 4 years now. And I've been building on my leadership skills, and I meet with him every 2 weeks and work on different skills. And I always bring up like, this is what I'm bad at, or this is what I need to work on. And he recommends books that I read. He assigns me homework. And on my like free time, I study and work a lot on different areas of leadership. Like building a team flow and team structure is a whole skill on its own, which requires a lot of educational reading and studying. So it's a whole every little topic. Like I'm happy to have a separate conversation on Twitter DMs and talk about it. But I see there's a pending question.
Nice. Yes, I think there are some questions, but I would like to maybe let Burke first making him presentation, and then maybe at the end we can have 5 more minutes if you can stay. If you can stay, I just want to tell, if you are watching now, that this is just the 5% of the power of Tessa. Like just with 5%, it's already a high level thing. So probably we will make more more episodes, or make space. We can make events, of course. Super happy about collaborating with you again, Tessa. Thank you so much for joining, even if at a conference. So some small technical issues, but still very top quality. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yotam asked a really good question I really wanted to go over. And it's not something I have executed on, but he says, how do you prevent your community from turning into a support hub area? The number one and the number one thing is having community managers, or at least developer advocates, being a big part of the community and having engaging conversations and moving support questions into a support channel and keeping the main chat to just be engagement. Having a lot of community activities, having a lot of Discord stage events or events in general, and do things that are exciting to individuals, and you will bring a feeling of community and togetherness rather than just being a support hub. And it's a lot of work, and it's multiple full-time positions to be able to make this happen.
Nice. Amazing, Tessa. So sadly we are out of time, so now let me invite Burke. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Bye. Okay, now Burke, sorry for letting you wait. We will go 5-10 minutes more, but I'm super happy because I've been waiting for this last presentation, because First of all, if in case you don't know him, Burke works at Microsoft, super passionate about VS Code. I think you have released some videos soon about VS Code, how to use it on the web. You also wrote an article on FreeCodeCamp, right? I don't know, sometimes.
Yeah. I used to write a lot of articles on FreeCodeCamp. It's a great site.
I found just one, but I think there were more than one. So please, Burke, introduce yourself super fast, and then when you want, we can also share your screen. Because,
yeah, let's just get right into it. If you want to just go ahead and throw my screen up there, and we'll just get started.
I just want to say that I also had a small experience on TikTok. In 1 week, it blew up. It almost absorbed all my time, so I had to maybe a step back. But I really listen very, very carefully. because this can really be maybe a game changer, we can say. So Burke, I'll let you just start with the presentation so you have more time for that. Okay.
Sure, absolutely. So what's up, everybody? Hey, chat. My name is Burke, and I work for Microsoft. And today I'm going to tell you how we grew our YouTube channel by 900%. So we increased our subscribers by 900% using TikTok. Now, I know that's like a really bombastic statement. We call that clickbait. And there's two reasons for that. One of them is because 900% is a huge number. And the second one is because what on earth does TikTok have to do with YouTube? Well, fortunately for us, reality is stranger than clickbait. So yeah. I lead what's called the Developer Cloud team at Microsoft, and we focus on the adoption of Microsoft's developer tools, services, and runtimes. And the primary platform that we work with is Visual Studio Code. But VS Code shows up in a lot of places. It's not just an editor. It's also in GitHub code spaces. It's also extensions like Copilot. It also works with cloud services like Azure and things like Jupyter Notebooks and data science, right? So it's sort of the context in which a lot of different stuff takes place. So one of our main focuses is on growing that platform from an advocacy point of view. This is our YouTube channel. We do weekly live streams. We do standard, what you might expect from YouTube videos, and we do YouTube shorts on this channel. So this is where we get to tell the entirety of the Developer Cloud story is from our VS Code channel. That's primarily where we communicate with our audience. So before we go any further, let's talk about this 900% number because we need to establish the legitimacy of this. Carl Sagan once said that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And as an aside, this is just a good rule to apply to everything else in your life, especially given the state of information that we live in. So if you ever hear somebody make a claim like they grew their subscribers by 900%, show me the data would be your next response, and rightly so. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So this is our subscriber growth over the lifetime of the channel. So you can see that we have some organic growth starting in like around mid 2017, and it's very linear, right? It's sort of organic, and you can, if you had to map out that line 10 years, you could predict exactly how many subscribers we'd have up until about the first quarter of 2021, right before the first half. So we can see that something happens here, right? What happens in the first quarter of 2021? Well, right about here is where we created our TikTok account and started posting content. All right. And so this is what this chart, this graph is what we call a hockey stick. It's generally the kind of growth that we want to see in anything, right? In a product, in downloads, in subscribers, in users. It's the coveted hockey stick. So how did we get here? Well, the pandemic changed everything for everyone. Okay, I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been said a billion times and that you don't already know, but it's worth reiterating because we have to understand the impact that it had on both the people that produce content in advocacy and people who consume it, developers out there. So for developer advocates, a big part of our job effectively evaporated overnight. For me, I was traveling, I was in Copenhagen, and I was going to go to Sweden to do another talk, and all of us were called home. And that was the last time I traveled, and that was March of 2020. And this is because events is a big part of what you do as a developer advocate. You travel, you speak, you talk with developers, you find out where they are, what are they working on, what are they concerned about, what meets their needs, and you really need to be in person to have those conversations. It's important. So with that completely gone, there was a kind of content arms race that started. This is a tweet from Taylor, which I think captures the effect of the pandemic well. So in her tweet, she's attributing it to metrics, but I attribute it to the pandemic. But she's tapping in on a truth, which is that we have over-indexed on content. So it's online events, training materials, skilling content, more online events, live streaming, more online events, right? And all of this was sort of us grasping at straws as developer advocates. When the DevRel position changed so drastically, what else were we to do, right? We're all at home, so content is sort of all we have left. But the audience, people consuming the content, are just being deluged with content, right? It grew exponentially overnight. And what we saw from our end was views on videos are dropping, online event attendees are dropping, people are just disappearing from the community. Where are they going, right? And so I've been in DevRel for 10 years, and I had no idea for months. I had no idea what to do. This is Sana Ajani. Sana was a PM until recently, was a PM on the VS Code team. And she and I worked on various pieces of content together. Microsoft, we often work with our PMs to create content. I have her picture up here because Sana was the first person to suggest to me that we should have a TikTok account, okay? And my first reaction to this was absolutely not. We are never going to do that. And this is because I fundamentally misunderstood the platform. But fortunately, Sana was really persistent on this, and we did eventually end up doing it. But a lot of the success that we've seen is credit to Sana, who wanted to try and do new things, creative things. And that's a lesson that we can take away from this. Because my impression of TikTok was this, okay? So let me just, by the way, these videos are a little loud, I think. So just fair warning before I click play here, you might want to turn your volume down.
Back in the 6th grade, I got the bad grades. I was in love with my tutor. See, musically lose, you trapping me.
Okay, so this is kind of what we think about TikTok being, but what's important to not overstate here, understate rather, is that this video, by the way, this is Charlie D'Amelio. She, at the time, at one point in time, was the most popular person on TikTok. 53.3 million views on this video. 53.3 million. But look at the engagement, 86.6 thousand likes. That is a lot of content. And by the way, Charlie is famous now. I believe she has her own television show, right? But the engagement on these videos is insane by any measurement. It's unlike anything else that we've ever seen before. But this is not all TikTok is, okay? So this right here.
This microchip will show you how to automatically change the color and size of emails from certain people, like your boss, for example. First off, go to the view menu up here. And
okay, this is from a fellow named Mike Tolson, who also works at Microsoft. This video, which is on creating an Outlook rule, has 3 million views and 1,680 comments. And it's Microsoft Office. I mean, if you work in advocacy, you may think you have a tough job with your product, but imagine working on Office, right? But it just goes to show that like the interest is there for literally anything on TikTok. The audience is there. Okay, so beyond the crazy engagement that the platform sees, the audience is one that you're likely not hitting on Twitter or YouTube. And I'm just doing a time check. Yeah, we're good. So TikTok is the fastest growing video platform. These stats are old, so they're a lot bigger than this now. 800 million active users. If you want to just like baseline, that's like 330 million on Twitter. The average user spends 1.2 hours per day, 1.2 hours consuming content. But what's really interesting is like, look at this, 60% of users are between ages 16 and 24. And if you look at the female to male ratio here, it's 64% female to 36% male, which is inverted from YouTube, which is primarily male. I think it's like something like over 80% male to female on YouTube, right? So what we have here is an entirely different demographic that you probably can't hit or we're not hitting with your current content channels. So what we did was we took a look at some accounts that we thought were doing really well or doing it right. So NPR's Planet Money is a really good one. Xbox has a great account. Type House, which is Carly Clossy. Is it Carly? Maybe I'm butchering that name, but anyway, she has a great TikTok channel where the students post there. And then Cassidy Williams, I'm putting her up here because Cassidy's kind of a trailblazer here. She did it before anybody else did and still posts great content. So definitely deserves a mention because she was doing this long before anybody else was. So we just decided to kind of go for it. So we launched our channel, and this was our motto because VS Code is such a well-loved tool and brand, right? It doesn't, my job is really to just not mess it up. because it really sells itself, and it's free and it's great, and it doesn't necessarily need my help to be those things. So we just didn't want, my biggest concern was that we would detract from the legitimacy of VS Code, and we didn't want to do that. So we put together a plan, because at Microsoft, we don't do anything without a plan and a way to measure it. And the plan was 3 videos per week for 13 weeks. We were going to do a checkpoint every 4 weeks. And because I was so worried about how this account would do on TikTok, that I was just ready to eject at any time. In other words, like, we'll just pull the plug and delete the account at any point if this goes south. All right, so we set some initial.
Welcome to Code Talk. If you like coding,
this is our
or
first.
You're interested in learning how to code, you've come to the right place. My name is Sana, and I'm a program manager at Microsoft.
Hey folks, my name is Burke, and I work as a developer advocate at Microsoft, working on VS Code. And welcome to Code Talk.
Hey everyone, I'm Ornella from the VS Code team.
Hi, I'm Bridget. I'm a PM on the VS Code team.
If you're interested in programming tips or talking about different tech concepts, we got you. If you want to go through some tutorials, we got you. If you want to learn about tech careers, we got you.
We're also going to show you just how to get started with coding in general, and general programming tips and tricks, and even how to get started in the industry.
I can't wait to help you get started with using our docs to learn to code.
I know that coding can seem intimidating and hard, but it's not bad. It's fun. You just need someone to kind of show you how to get started. And I hope that we can do that. So welcome.
So welcome to Code Talk. I'm glad you're here.
We can't wait to get started on Code Talk with you all.
All right, so that was the very first video that we posted to TikTok. We had no idea what we were doing. And all of those folks helped work on this in some form or fashion, create content. You saw several of the PMs there, Ornella and Bridget as well. So we put some metrics together, and we sort of baselined it off of, I think, like 30,000 views per video. I can't remember. I was just looking, and at this point, I'm just throwing numbers at the wall. I don't know what good numbers should be, but these seem good, right? So if after 13 weeks, we have 1 million views across all our videos and 1.5 thousand comments, it seems like success to me. So these were our initial goals. And this is where we ended up after 13 weeks. 2.2 million views, 4.6 thousand comments, and 222,000 likes. So we just absolutely blew out of the water our initial goals. And we were astounded at the number of views we were getting, at the engagement that we were getting. We just couldn't believe it. But what happened next is where this gets super weird. So what does all of this have to do with YouTube? Why on earth would posting videos on TikTok have any impact on YouTube? It doesn't, and herein lies the clickbait. So thanks to the miracle of capitalism, shortly after we started the TikTok work, YouTube launched its competitor, which was called Shorts. And for a while, Shorts was not even available. I think it was only available in India at first. And then it was hard to figure out how to post a short. You'd use the right hashtag. Like, it was a very mysterious thing. It's much easier now. But our marketing person sort of realized, hey, these are both portrait videos. Let's just post videos on both platforms. So that's what we did. And the subscribers began rolling in. Okay, so this is from one video. Now, granted, it's the most popular video that we've done on YouTube Shorts, but that's 26.2 thousand subscribers from a single short. That's more subscribers than we had when we started this whole thing. We had 26,000 when we started. We got that same number from one video. Okay, so the next question should be like, well, what the heck was that video? Let's watch it.
One super annoying thing about HTML is that sometimes you want to get all of a div, like this div, but it's really big. And so you scroll down, you scroll down, you scroll down, you scroll down, and you're like, which one of these closing tags is it? You can't remember, so you have to scroll back up. It's just a real pain. There's an easier way to do this. There is a command in VS Code called balance outward. So if you look for balance outward, that will select the entire thing for you. So that's the whole div. You don't have to go hunting for that last tag there. Now, I like to take this a step further and go to my keyboard mappings and do the balance outward command and bind that to Control-Alt-B. And then there's a balance inward, which does the opposite. It goes the other direction, which I bind to Control-Alt-V because they're next to each other on the keyboard. And then I can just Control-Alt-B and go out as much as I need to. And then V takes me back in. And of course, up here, if I want this whole thing, just Control-Alt-B. That's it.
So why is this video worth 26,000 subscribers? I have no idea, okay? This is the mysterious part of advocacy, is that you never know what's gonna resonate with the audience. The great thing about shorts and TikToks is that you're doing 3 of them a week, and if you do enough of them, 1 of them will hit. And that's all you need is 1 to get 26,000 subscribers added to your channel. Now,
one super annoying thing about HTML
sorry,
is that
we've already
sometimes
watched
you
this
want
one.
to get all of a div like this.
Now, the question that we also ask at Microsoft is, who cares? Okay, so you've grown your channel by 900%. Who cares? Why does that matter? And now this is an important question to ask, right? Because we have to get beyond vanity metrics here. It sounds cool. Well, first of all, it matters because you get this cool plaque in the mail from YouTube, right? So for us, that was pretty cool. But again, right. So somebody did subscribe. Okay, so there we go. It resonates. So anyway, the plaque means something to us, but doesn't mean anything to leadership at Microsoft, right? They're interested in something of substance here. Here's why this matters. Because what do we do on our YouTube channel? We live stream. Okay, this is where we get to tell the totality of the DevCloud story. So for instance, we talk about TypeScript, which Microsoft also makes, and that's also on something we cover on DevCloud. Look, we're talking about Azure Kubernetes Service. We're talking about using VS Code to develop COBOL and RPG and IBM Series I. Right, so we get to cover a lot of stuff outside of that. And the more YouTube subscribers you have, the more people are going to attend your streams, the more people who watch the streams afterward. And the stream is where we really get to engage with our community and with our chat. That's why it matters. That's why it's important to be able to grow those subscribers. Okay, so here's what I want to do. We got a few minutes left. And so what I want to do is go over with you some of our most high-performing content so you can just see what resonates with people outside of the balance out, which seemed to be super popular. So this is the first video that we published that actually went somewhere. In other words, it went over 100,000 views. All right, so let's just watch.
Hello world. Where did that come from? Hello world. Who was the first person to write Hello World, and why are we all still doing it? Well, his name is Brian Kernighan, and he wrote it 49 years ago in 1972. But why did he pick Hello World? Why not literally any other phrase? I don't know. Let's ask him.
My memory, which is now probably completely meaningless because it's been so long, is that somewhere in my life I had seen a cartoon that showed a chick just coming out of an egg and cracking, little head poking out, and a caption that said "Hello World." And for some reason it stuck with me, and so somewhere I wrote a program that did that, and the rest is history. I have no idea why it's been picked up. I don't know whether it will last forever. There are web pages with Hello Worlds in hundreds of languages, if not more. So maybe it's useful in some sense.
All right. So there's a couple of things we can take away from that video. One of them is that it's really rough, right? So like I'm actually in a shirt that I was about to go jogging in. And that clip of Brian Kernighan, I got that because I did an interview with him because I emailed him and asked him if I could interview him. And he just said yes. So it's another lesson, like just ask people to do things and they'll do them. But this is general programming content, right? We don't necessarily need to talk about VS Code to grow the platform. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so here's another one that did pretty well. So here's Sana.
So when you're debugging your code and you've added a bunch of print statements everywhere, but then you forget to remove them before you submit your assignment? Let me show you how you can use log points to achieve the same thing, but keep your code clean of all those print statements.
So I've got some JavaScript code that prints out the nth term of the Fibonacci sequence, and I have a console.log statement, and typically I might put a breakpoint over here, but instead of doing that, I'm going to use log points. So let's comment out this and add a log point by right-clicking and pasting in a message that I want printed to the console every time it gets to this point in the execution. So I can paste this, and the JavaScript variables that I want are in the curly braces. So I press enter, and I can run my code and have this printed out to the console without actually having a print statement in my code. You can use this to know when a function's been called, or just to know the value of something at a certain point. Hope that helps.
Okay, so in this video, we're actually talking specifically about VS Code, and she's showing off log points. And notice that what's she doing? She's filming her screen with her phone. Okay, all of this stuff is an anathema to what we would do to produce high quality content. But on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, this is totally fine. And actually, it's even better because it's a direct connection with people. Because you're showing people that, hey, I'm a real person, you're a real person. And there's this sort of like organic connection you have when you do something like film your screen. This lo-fi vibe is really, really nice. All right, so that one had 250,000 views. This is our first video to hit 1 million views, okay? Here we go.
Brushing your teeth is optional. You don't have to do it. You know what else is optional?
Okay. Okay, so look, the takeaway from this is that you don't have to try very hard. Jokes go over really well, and there's a lot of common jokes in the programming space that you can utilize because, again, what are you doing there? You're connecting with people, right? It's funny. Some people use semicolons, some people don't, and we're sort of taking a stance here that if you don't use semicolons, it's the same as not brushing your teeth, which of course is not true. But again, funny content is completely fine.
Brushing your teeth.
This one was the first one to go over 2 million views. And in this one, look at the level of effort that it takes from me to actually make this video. This is what's called a stitch on TikTok, where I'm just taking someone else's video and I'm just reacting to it. That's all I'm doing. So let's watch this.
After 3 hours of programming, I finally figured out what was broken.
Okay.
I want to die. Why did I choose this profession to throw my computer in the garbage?
So,
3 hours.
So this is TikTok in a nutshell, right? It's people stitching videos, it's reactions. And again, this person is hitting on a common pain point in programming that we can probably all relate to. And just stitching that content, right? Just promoting that content does wonders for our channel as well. It's sort of a rising tide that floats all boats. So let's do one more here, and then we'll sort of wrap up.
And then press the dot key on your keyboard. Visual Studio Code will appear in your browser. It will load your entire repository, and you can open any file from it. You have your entire source code with syntax highlighting and coloring. If you want to search for something, you can use the Visual Studio Code search capability to search in any file in the repository. If you make a code change, that code change gets saved, and you can immediately make a commit inside your GitHub repository from your browser.
So that was when we launched github.dev. So again, just a great way to show people new features that you're launching, new things that you're doing. This video here has over 1.5 million views. So just a couple of final thoughts here. When it comes to measuring the success of these things, we think in terms of a funnel. And I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. One of the other presenters mentioned this, but that we sort of think of views at the very top of the funnel. I think Dom mentioned this, yeah. So views are at the very top. Engagement, which we define as likes, comments, plus shares divided by views. We consider 9 to 10% to be a good number. If you're somebody like Charlie D'Amelio, your engagement's going to be in the mid 20%, which is just insane. That's an insane number. But we consider 9 to 10% in good to be very good. And at the very bottom of the funnel, we have clicks. So in other words, are people clicking from your content to go to your doc or extension, whatever it is you want them to do? It's important to note that in TikTok, you can't link people to things. And if you try to do that, they will downgrade your content in the algorithm. Okay. So TikTok is designed for you to go into that app and just die in there, right? They don't ever want you to leave. But on YouTube, you actually can get people to click through. So you can include links in text on the videos, but really all you can do on these platforms is give people an idea, okay, that they may take action on later, because human beings don't click directly through to things immediately. That's, if you think about yourself, that's not how you work. You see something, you have a thought, you take action on that thought months later. Now, your company doesn't want that. They want a hard line from one thing to the next. But it's our job to sort of focus on the top of the funnel, and at the bottom of the funnel, notice it's very small. Very few of those clicks are going to get through, and you just have to be okay with that. So a few final thoughts for you here. If you want to do this, consistency is key. You got to post like 3 to 4 times every week, and you got to keep doing it until you get the rhythm of how to do it, and it starts to work for you. In your videos, get to the point immediately. Don't do intros. Nobody cares. Just get to the thing that you're talking about. Go beyond the content. Show people what's cool about the thing that you're showing. So show them something cool, and then show them something even cooler. Respond to your viewers as best you can. You can't respond to 1,000 comments, but you can respond to 24, right? The ones at the top. Don't try too hard. If your videos are too polished, and you're spending hours on this, then you're trying too hard, right? These videos should take you maybe an hour, but don't be lazy. You have to have good content. Show people something interesting. Show them something compelling. Show them something that you think is cool. My friend Sarah Drasner once told me, her advice to me was, if you think it's cool, other people probably think it's cool, show it to them. And I would give you that same advice, pass that on from her. Finally, y'all, like and subscribe, smash that like button, and follow us over at VS Code on TikTok and our code channel on YouTube. And that's all I've got for you. Did I go over? Did I go too long?
Yes. No. It was perfect. I'm just literally looking for the YouTube channel. Just 1 second, and this has been really inspiring. Just 1 second. Let me drop this. And yes, Burke, it has been. I've seen the graphs. I've seen the videos, and I got some notes. I got some notes. It's even as a host, not just as a listener. So I'm honestly interested in that. So nice. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to the TikTok channel. Is it called a channel? Account. And now maybe we can invite someone else back. Dom, are you ready? And Tessa, let me remove this. Tessa, are you there?
Yes.
Perfect. Then we go. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's we are some minutes over time, but we can stay just 5 minutes max. I just want to ask this to Burke, because it's also interesting for me. Did you plan your content in the initial 13 weeks at the beginning, or just planning during the weeks?
So we do it week by week. Every Monday we meet and we have a spreadsheet. We're literally like, okay, so-and-so's got Monday, so-and-so's got Wednesday. We eat 3 times a week, and we try to figure out what we're going to do every Monday. So we take it a week at a time.
Nice. Thank you, because we're also planning some stuff on TikTok. This is a huge spoiler, but I can't say more. But yes, and maybe, of course, it is also for other speakers. What were the things, content-wise, that surprised you the most? Of course, also Tessa and Dom, you can participate, because things that performed super well that you weren't expecting, and vice versa. We put a lot of effort and then basically it flopped. Everybody can go.
On a viewer standpoint, I like short videos. Anything that's like an hour long, I'll most likely not go through it unless it's an actual tutorial of something I have to execute on by the end of it. I don't have the patience for long. But shorts, TikToks, I love one.
Okay, I think there are some technical issues, Tessa. And but I got you. Try now.
So for me,
go Burke.
Yeah, so it's a good question. The things that surprise me are always like the obscure VS Code features that I don't think anybody's going to care about. Like we just released a feature called Sticky Scroll, and I made a video and I was like, no one's going to care, and like 500,000 people cared. And so I've just sort of given up on trying to predict what is going to resonate with people, and we just cover anything that we think is interesting. And again, it's consistency and volume. And the more that you put out, you will eventually find something that resonates with people.
I think it's funny to that point too. The things that I see do the best are always kind of things that your team, especially when you're a product, things that your team are like, oh, people know about this already. Like, we're not going to make a video on that. People already know about it. Most of your user base does not know a lot of the base features of your product, even the ones that you think are most like in your face and people would already have kind of an idea of. they usually do the best on our platforms.
Absolutely. So that's actually really good advice. If you don't assume that people already know something, I guarantee you they do not.
They do not. They don't. Like always like it is our most at Netlify specifically. We've been doing a lot of TikToks, FYI Fridays. We've been releasing these very, very focused things about the Netlify CLI. And most people don't even know that the Netlify CLI exists most of the time. So everything we show on the CLI gets great hits because people are just like, dude, I've been doing this in the UI. I had no idea I could do this in the CLI.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like what he mentioned when he says, if you think it's cool, other people will think it's cool too. And that really resonates with me. And I'm going to use that as inspiration for more on our video strategy of shorts specifically.
Nice.
It's a really
nice.
good presentation, by the way. I loved it.
No,
I took some notes too.
Yes, everybody got some notes, and I'll be super happy because now I'm happy because since I have to add the timestamps, I can watch again all the even if I add the timestamp at the beginning of your presentation, Burke, I'll watch this anyway. so yes, it has been really a great presentation. Also, thank you, Dom. Thank you, Tessa. I think we are over with the questions. And yes, it's always, to be honest, it's always a pleasure. I've been waiting for this developer advocacy episode for a while because you always learn something new. Every time I make any collaboration with other developer advocates, I learn something new. We collaborate on ideas, and I hope that we got something good. And it would be nice to have 500,000, 1 million views, and then we will see. But nice strategy. And I'm also, I'm like you, Burke, super skeptic about new things. So let's see if I am wrong again on this. So yes, and I also made some tries, but this is almost as an experiment. And of course, thank you. Also, thank you so much for people in the audience. And yes, we are at the end. If anybody would like to say some further thoughts, and after this, I think everybody is going to record some TikTok and some short videos. So let's wrap this up as soon as possible, so we can go recording some stuff.
We're ready to record.
And we'll tag the VS Code account because it inspired us. So yes, some final thoughts, anyone?
I just wanted to say it was an honor to share the stage with y'all. I really appreciate you having me up, and I'm really excited to do things like this in the future. It was great learning from y'all, and can't wait to see y'all out there.
Perfect. Nice. Thank
Great.
you. Tessa.
Awesome.
Sorry, Tessa, would you like to say something?
Yeah, it was nice meeting you all, and thanks for joining our presentations. You all had really great questions, and I'm sure it's helped a lot of other individuals as well.
Nice. Thank you so much, Burke. To you, the honor to wrap this up.
No, I don't think I could say it better than Dom already said it. So we'll just leave it at that.
Nice. Perfect.
High
So
praise
thank you so
from
much.
Burke Holland. Thank you, sir. Later,
Nice.
y'all.
Nice. Thank you so much. So we are a bit over time, but it was necessary because it was very, very interesting. Thank you so much again. And yes, this is an event, of course, sponsored by daily.dev. And yeah, see you soon. You can check daily.dev if you want to try it out. It's free. And so just give it a try. And then we are done for today. Perfect. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Check all of them in the description below. We have the links of the channels of all of them. So please do that. Bye bye.